Salute. Welcome back. Day 3 of the 2025 NFL Draft pregame show presented by our good friends at Royal Retros, the king of throwback. I got my throwback on, the Rhine Fire, going back to the World Football League today, baby. You can check them out. I dropped the affiliate link in the chat room, and if you use our promo code RIC10, you get 10% off the entire website, which adds up pretty quickly if you like those fancy throwback jerseys. They got the mini helmets. They got the World Football League. We're going circa 1990, baby. Canadian Football League, throwback CFL, UFL, USFL, XFL. You see the hats in the background, high quality, quick shipping. I just placed this order like 3 days ago, and they got it here in time for the draft. So we're feeling good. We're looking good here on this All Access Football 2025 NFL Draft pregame show presented by Royal Retros. Also, big shout out to Sports Management Worldwide for sponsoring the newsletter over at allaccessfootball.com, celebrating 23 years of independent analysis. Make sure you go there. We have our draft pick-by-pick analysis, 2026 preview, of course, the 2025 NFL Draft Bible, over 500 scouting reports, 355 pages. You can go there now and unlock the magic. Our hard work over the past 365 days, the blood, sweat, and tears. Whew, baby. We are ready for our favorite day, day 3 of the NFL Draft. It's where NFL organizations earn their cheddar. And here to break it down with me throughout the whole week, host of the Scouts Honor podcast, Paul Crane, the late, great Dave T. Thomas, Dave Delco. Welcome into the show. Good morning, Dave. How we doing?
Doing fantastic, Rick. The best day of the draft is finally here, so couldn't be more hyped if I tried.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, most people reflect on the new year, January 1st. It's a time of reflection. Well, tomorrow will be our new year. We'll reflect on what we did right. We'll reflect on what we did wrong. I got valuable scouting lessons that I learn every single year. We'll get into that. Some of the surprises, the value, the best player available. We'll look at yesterday. We'll look ahead at today. I guess we shall start with yesterday's festivities. Where would you like to begin, my friend?
Oh, I just figure we start with whose drafts we like so far. First
Okay.
off, I'll give credit to the Seahawks. I think that they've had an incredible run so far with Gray Zabel, Emanuare, Arroyo, and Milrow. They've been able to find some real solid value throughout day 1 and day 2. Really like what John Schneider and the boys up there in Seattle are putting together. So got to give them their flowers. Buffalo and Carolina, like what they've been doing so far as well. And then my Giants, pretty content with the way things have gone down, particularly with who I would say is one of my best value picks of last night in Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle out of Toledo.
Yeah, I saw you were excited about that one.
I was very excited about that. I mean, dude, a lot of people had him fringe first round, definitely
Yeah.
second round, knocks it out at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile. And for him to be available at the top of the third round there, I was panicking for a minute thinking that the Eagles were going to snipe him from us. They end up taking the safety out of Texas instead, Mabuku. But I was elated to see that the need and the value aligned at the top of the third round for the Giants standing pat there.
Yeah, listen, I like Alexander. I think he's a solid player. I knocked him down a few pegs on my board because I think he was one of these like 7-year seniors, 25 years old.
Yep.
Uh, I was a fan of Joshua Farmer of Florida State, who's still on the board. Cam Jackson out of Florida, still on the board. Unbelievable. We'll get into some best players available. Let me ask you about, and not necessarily the best drafts, Dave. Let me ask you just about some draft philosophies.
Sure.
So, New England went into free agency with the most money out of all the NFL teams to spend. And it was like solely based on, and there was a couple of free agent signings on offense, but the defense really dominated in free agency when you look at what New England did this offseason. So then they come back in the draft, they go all offense. And I think this was by design. So they go all defense and free agency. They come back in the draft. They take Will Campbell, a starting left tackle, Travion Henderson, which is to me clearly an upgrade over Ramondre Stevenson or Antonio Gibson. Then they come in round 3, and we called this in the Draft Bible publication. Kyle Williams out of Washington State, as far as I know right now, at number 69 overall. That's the highest drafted non-combine invite player that I'm aware of. If there's somebody else in the chat room, please let me know. But that certainly caught my attention, and I like the fact that you might not like that pick, but I like the confidence, Dave, because they went Jalen Polk round 1, the kid out of UCF, Javon Baker, round 3 or round 4. I think both of those were swings and misses, but no fear. They keep swinging away. And then round 3, they cut Dave Andrews. They plug in Jared Wilson with the 95th pick. I mean, at least there's a plan in place here. Did you like what New England did?
I did. And being able to identify misses early on and holding yourself accountable for them is something that I think separates franchises from others. Because if you're going to hold on to something just hoping and praying that they're going to materialize into what you wish they could have been, instead of fixing the issue and taking another swing at the bat, you're only holding your team back further. The other thing I like about what New England's done is they keep trading back. Vrabel's
Mhm.
channeling his inner Belichick and amassing more draft capital, which
Yeah.
I love. That and talk about philosophy and identity, particularly when you're not in a position where you think you're going to be winning a Super Bowl in the next year or two. I love the philosophy and the ideology around, all right, let's just trade back a ton for the next 2 to 3 years, load up on a ton of picks, add a ton of depth, hedge our risk. If we miss on a couple players in a given draft, we've got double the picks we started with, whatever it ends up being. And I get that for fans, it doesn't necessarily pay off immediately, and that's a
Right.
sense of frustration. But then come next year, when you got a bazillion picks like the Bills do this year, all of a sudden it starts to make a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
Well, it does for the Patriots because they have holes all over that roster, every single
Yeah.
position they need, depth upgrades everywhere. So I thought that was pretty good. And they do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more picks here on day 3. So, and I believe, Elliot Wolf, son of Ron Wolf, he's going to draft a quarterback every year because that's what Ron Wolf does. That's what the Wolves
Yep.
do. He took Milton last year in the late rounds and flipped him for more
Traded
draft
them.
picks,
Yep.
right? Because quarterbacks become draft equity. And there's going to be a guy, I can guarantee you, whether it's a Quinn Ewers or a Shador Sanders, like Patriots, by the time the draft is over, the Patriots are going to have a quarterback on day 3. So one other team I wanted to point out, Dave Del Cole, is the Dallas Cowboys, who stayed true to their board. Best player available, it looks like. They get Tyler Booker. We debated that yesterday. You're not a fan. By the way, he had one of the best sound bites with the draft interviews. I just like to demoralize my opponent, and essentially is
I
what he
missed
said.
that. That's pretty
Yeah,
funny,
he
though.
said, what I love about game day is that these opponents, they come, they listen to their pregame music, they're on the field warming up, hyped, and as the game wears on, I just demoralize them, and all that joy is gone from their face by the end of the game. He's like, that's what I enjoy about game day, is making them suffer throughout the game. So
That's
go
what you
check
want to
it out.
hear from your offensive lineman for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well,
Will
and
Campbell had another great, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
Will Campbell was the best,
Yep.
right? I'm gonna fight
Yep.
and die to protect Drake. But let's look at what Dallas did, though, because they came back at 44. I was a little bit surprised.
Hmm.
Donovan Ezaraku, I understand the lack of height, but the length is there, 34, 35-inch arms. One of the quickest first steps in the draft. I mean, this guy's explosive, twitchy, bendy, productive. Donovan Ezaraku at 44, and then Siobhan Revel Jr., who did have some preseason first round hype, had the injury, kind of faded, and then you kind of heard a little bit of buzz leading up to the draft that he could sneak possibly back into round one. I heard some draft analysts calling him the best cornerback after Travis Hunter. He slides all the way down to 76. I mean, I'm looking at 3 players who are going to come in and compete for starting jobs in Dallas.
Dallas lost some quality talent on the defensive line. So Ezeraku makes a ton of sense to me there. Fortifying the trenches when you're playing in the NFC East seems to be a common theme between the teams in that division, and it makes perfect sense to me. Siobhan Ravel, I could take or leave, but I think he's definitely solid value in the third round, a big corner who certainly has a lot of traits that you'd like. Going down there, plenty of opportunity for him to show up and show out down there in Dallas. So, wish that kid nothing but the best.
Yeah, they've had some actually pretty good success there in late round cornerbacks,
Yep.
especially a couple guys I remember we had out at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. The names are slipping my head, but they've done well there. So Dave Del Cole, Rick Serritella, the day 3 NFL Draft pregame show presented by Royal Retros. We dropped the affiliate link in the chat room. RIC10. You can save on all the cool gear like this Rhine Fire throwback. Who remembers the Rhine Fire, baby? Buckle up. We are now an hour and 47 minutes away from the best day of the draft, day 3. And Jeffrey Champion in the chat room says, hey, I feel bad for Dylan Gabriel because I'm a Browns fan and people are already killing this kid. All he's done is go to different colleges and play good football. Dave Del Cole, what's your take?
I really like Dylan Gabriel. I had him on my biggest surprise list for this conversation because, yeah, seeing him go, I anticipated he was going to be more or less this year's Brock Purdy. Undersized, incredible collegiate career, but was a team going to be sold on him? Obviously, the character and all those things shine for him. Uh, I can empathize with the Browns fans who are saying we're going to, screw him over and waste his career, given the history that they've had. But I really like Dylan Gabriel. I thought that he was a sneaky name coming into this class, and to see him go ahead of the Will Howards, the Quinn Ewers, the Kyle McCords, by comparison, I did not see that coming at all. I anticipated Dylan Gabriel was going to be a day 3 prospect, and the fact that he went on day 2 was definitely a big surprise for me.
Yeah, I'm actually happy for Dylan Gabriel because I wasn't sure he was getting drafted. And out of all the situations of 32 spots for him to land, I can't think of a more ideal opportunity for him to see the field sooner rather than later.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett, who's there? Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this kid's gonna have a legitimate shot to get on the field like this season. Yep. And like Cleveland will be eliminated from playoff contention by the bye week. So it'll be time to roll with Dylan Gabriel, who,
yep.
I mean, following that Bo Nix blueprint, go hang out in college for 6 years, see a bunch of live bullets, play in a bunch of different schemes, understand all these different concepts. I mean, there's not much that's going to fool or trick Dylan Gabriel. I guess the one beef I had is down in Mobile. I mean, he was like literally non-existent. I mean, the guy did absolutely nothing all week. Didn't even know he was there. But you can't teach experience,
Right.
So
kudos. A quick shout out to the Senior Bowl and Mobile. I saw my main man Jim Nagy post something on the Twitter X machine this morning that 50 of the picks in the first 3 rounds were Senior Bowl players. And there were 10 additional names that went who initially were signed on to the Senior Bowl that backed out. So if they all stuck around, it would have been 60 out of the top, whatever it was, 100 picks that came out of Mobile this year. So very impressive, a record for them. Kudos.
That is impressive.
To that team.
Yeah, especially when you consider more and more first-round picks are opting out of that event.
Right.
I'm curious to see what the numbers look like from the East-West Shrine Bowl. And since we're doing shout out to Jim Nagy, shout out to Eric Galco at the East-West Shrine Bowl. also Michael Corte at the Tropical Bowl, and everybody that's involved with the NFL draft process for hosting us and us being able to be boots on the ground. I mean, there's nothing like in-person evaluation, and that's why the Draft Bible is so valuable, because not only are we giving you evaluations, we're out there talking to coaches, we're talking to scouts, we're gathering intel, background, medical, all that data, verified measurements, pro days. You're going to find it all, as well as the 2026 NFL draft. And I failed to give some shout outs here. It's our day 3 of coverage. My daughter Oceana, she's been hanging out with their mom for spring break, watching the show. So hello, Oceana. Hi, Mom. Thank you all the Draft Bible subscribers who have been so loyal over the past 23 years and are tuned and locked into our draft coverage. We want to thank everybody. Also, I just saw my family for Easter, which I don't get to see too often, and I know they're tuned in watching. So shout out to them. Dave, any shout outs you want to give while we're getting that off our chest?
Shout out to the traffic on the Garden State Parkway on Easter Sunday. How Rick? But nah, the shout outs for me are Dave T. Thomas and Paul Crane. Would be nothing without those two guys, particularly Dave T. Thomas. I mean, I think heavy about him throughout the draft process, particularly on day 3. He was the guy who kind of led me into all this, taught me everything that I know, got me into podcasting. I took over his podcast. So without him, I wouldn't be here today. Really appreciate everything he did for me and for scouting as a whole.
No doubt. Dave T. Thomas, if you don't know, go check him out. Really, he's paved the way for individuals like Mel Kiper and everyone on down to myself and Dave. And so we're happy to carry on that torch. And by the way, we have a day 3 Draft Gem podcast. We're going to be wrapping up this show here at about 11 o'clock. So you'll have an hour before the draft to go listen to that podcast. All our favorite day 3 players, undrafted free agent players. We're going to get into some of that today. But I mean, we have a whole hour and 20 minutes, I think, just dedicated to day 3 prospects. All right. Anything else in terms of day 1 reaction or surprises that you want to talk about, Dave?
So a couple other surprises. Justin Wally, the cornerback out of Minnesota, going
How
to
about
the
that?
Colts. Woo. Smacked me across the face. Did not see that one coming. Thought he was a day 3 guy. I'm pretty sure we talked about him on the show that you're alluding to. But
well, and listen, the Colts, like, I remember they drafted Isaiah Rodgers out of UMass. Nobody had a drafted grade on him. And it was a little bit later in the draft, but that pick panned out until he ran into his gambling issues. But, just like Tyleik Williams to the Lions, it's like, you kind of, I'm going to give Ballard a pass here and see how it pans out. But, I mean, I do think Ballard is one of those GMs who are on thin ice at this point.
Well, and I like their other picks, Tyler Warren and JT Tuimoloau. So
Yeah.
I'll trust the front office there. Speaking of the Lions, Isaac Tesla, shocking the nation, going in the 3rd round via trade up by Detroit. I thought that was a pleasant surprise. I think that fan base is going to certainly enjoy the homegrown Michigan kid.
Let's talk about that, because that's actually one of the lessons I want to talk about, because you go there and I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Senior Bowl he was at, one of these All-Star games. Was it the Senior? He was down in Mobile, just shredding dudes. I mean, all week long, just killing it, right? And like, you go back and you look, and like, he's barely even used in the Arkansas offense. He's like the 3rd or 4th option. Everybody's talking about Andrew Armstrong, and then he tests through the roof at the combine, and you're like, oh my God, like, look at these numbers, the shuttles, the 40s, the size. I mean, he's a big, fast slot receiver that's going to be doing some damage. They had like Josh Reynolds hanging out in the slot in Detroit. I mean, this kid Tesla in the Motor City, by the way, that's pretty cool. But I mean, this is a valuable scouting lesson. Like, this is why you can't go by stats. You can't go by depth chart rankings. like sometimes there's just traits and a skill set, or maybe a misusage. I mean, like, what did this coaching staff doing burying this kid on the depth chart? I mean, it's funny, right? Like, you can't even get on the field at Arkansas, but then you go 70th overall in the draft. I think it's a very valuable lesson to be learned.
Transfer from Division III Hillsdale in Michigan. A guy who's been around for a few years in collegiate ball. I think he's probably 5 years, something like that, with his college stint. So super senior for him. But yeah, he's a guy that blew up the pre-draft process. Excited to see him getting the opportunities early and often with Detroit. And then some of the biggest reaches I had, Jonas Sanker, the safety out of Virginia to
Yeah.
New Orleans. Did not understand that one as early as it was.
Well,
Ashton,
I'm not. I don't hate it that much. I was, I heard he could go higher than people realize because he had the size, he had the testing, he had production, multiple year starter, chiseled frame, from what I recall. So, like, I understand it. I
I,
understand it.
I understand all these, but if we're gonna talk about like what
Yeah, he would have probably been hanging out on day 3 if he did
you
not
know
go
what I
there.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
there was other safety talent there that I think most people thought would have gone
Oh, for
ahead of
sure.
him.
Yep.
Ashton Gillette to the Chiefs. Uh,
These Louisville kids, I can't get over it. Like, I was down there and I went and scouted them in person. I just really didn't see anything too special. Now the coaching staff did say, "Hey, we feel like he's a first round pick." I left practice like, what? I don't see it. And
yep.
then, like, he didn't participate in any of the All-Star games. I don't Was he a combine invite? No, he blew up the
Uh,
pro day. I think he blew up his pro day.
yeah. Yeah, that's in a loaded defensive line class.
Yeah.
That was a reach to me.
And he's
Um,
a tweener. I don't know if he's a tackle, an edge,
yeah, I
or
don't. Yeah,
I
there's
I
just
don't
way
know.
too much going on there for me to understand. But leave it to the Chiefs to pull something
Right.
like that. This one I might catch some hate for in the chat, but RJ Harvey going to the
Yeah,
Broncos in the third round. I get a
that
lot of
bothered me.
people love RJ Harvey, and that's
I
all
do, as a
well and
day
good.
3 guy.
And yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like when you got Scadaboo and Martinez, some of these other names, you're going RJ Harvey in the third
And,
round.
like,
What's
they
going
have
on?
Jaleel McClain, who's, like, a short, scrawny back. This kid is, like, 180 pounds soaking wet, not even. Yeah, where's the beef in that backfield?
Yeah. Yep. And then the last one that I thought was somewhat of a reach was Jacob Parrish to the Bucks, the cornerback. Didn't quite understand that one. There's a run on
I
defensive
like
backs, which we
Paris,
talked
though. I
about.
mean,
I don't
I
I don't mind them, but in the third round was a little rich for my blood.
I think that's kinda where we had him because I thought he was one of the best slot nickelback cornerbacks in the draft. Um,
Yep.
Physical, feisty, athletic.
Yep.
He shows
I
up,
like
man.
this tape. Don't get me wrong. And
Yeah.
again, I think it's also a byproduct of the fact that there was such a run on the secondary.
Yeah,
And you
well,
had to take somebody if you needed somebody sooner rather than later, which the Bucks desperate for secondary help. They
yeah.
needed it real bad. Same with linebacker. I expect them to address linebacker pretty heavy today. And
How
then
about Pat Bryant? How about Pat Bryant
yeah, the
sneaking
wide
into me?
receiver from Illinois.
I found that surprising.
I did find that one surprising as well. He's another one that, like, kind of like Kyle Williams, had people that loved him, had people that didn't. Ebbs and flows there.
I
But that
figured
was,
he ran in, like, the 4.6s, if I recall, at the combine. I figured that would probably put him in the day 3 range, but,
yep,
you know, hmm. All
yep.
right. So those were some reaches. How about, did we talk about the best value yet?
I've kind of alluded to a couple of the picks, but Darius Alexander, the Giants, thought that was incredible value early on in the third round. And then I thought Jalen Milrow going to Seattle,
Love
like
it.
middle back half of the third round, was
Love it.
also incredible value. I mean, this is the guy that people were talking about going in the end of the first round and teams trading up to go get him. And
Yeah,
a lot of folks figured that top of the third was sort of his floor, and he'd probably be prioritized by some team in the second round. He makes it down to the middle of the third, and Seattle went right ahead and jumped on him.
right in that Russell Wilson range, and
Yep.
I believe it wasn't that Sam Darnold contract a 2-year deal.
Yeah, no, it's a good heir
So
apparent, and I think it's a good situation because a
yeah,
lot of people
you
were
keep
talking.
Darnold honest, right? Like,
Yep.
dude, there's a Milrow right over your shoulder, so like we
Mm,
can't have that Fugazi nonsense you pulled down the stretch last
all
season,
right.
okay? And then at the end of 2 years, like if Milrow's ready, you hand over the keys. If not, maybe Darnold proves himself.
Well, and you can also use Milrow in a variety of different packages early on. It's not
Yeah,
like you have to wait to develop him as a quarterback. If you want to put him in there on some wildcat formations in his first year while he's still learning the playbook, he can memorize a few trick plays or what have you going into his rookie season. So I thought that was advantageous, particularly when they've lost some offensive firepower like DK Metcalf.
Dave Del Cole, Rick Serritella, streaming here on the All Access Football NFL Draft Day 3 pregame show presented by Royal Retros. Use our promo code RIC10, save 10% off the entire website. You see the throwback hats, you see the Ryan Fire shirt. Oh, baby, if you want to feel good, look good, play ball, go over to the website link in the chat room that we just dropped there. Okay. And of course, allaccessfootball.com. We got you covered. We are moving on to day 3. No, the 2026 NFL draft over on the website. After the commercial break, we'll be moving on to day 3 with Dave Delco. We're going to talk about best player available, round 2 mock draft scenarios, favorite day 2 prospects, and of course, we'll have our bold predictions with Cole Glotzer behind the scenes. Take it away, Cole.
What a final 4-game stretch it's been for Jack Sawyer, starting against Michigan in the great rivalry, taking off this pass right here in the end zone and keeping the Wolverines from scoring right there in that play. But you get to the playoffs now, and you watch him consistently getting to the quarterback. Like right here, like he throws the hook, and he gets to the quarterback right there for a sack. Got a bunch of those. Then he seems to always be in the passing lane. Like he just has an knack. 6'5", 260 pounds, long arms, almost took that one to the house. And he just has a knack for where the ball is going. Just playing off the blocks right here, knowing where it is, and then just finishing with the tackle. Lots of tackles. And then you get this. Here, he's just going to give ground to get the tackle overextended, and then he's going to flatten and get to the quarterback. Sacks, splash plays. All right, then you move on to Oregon. I mean, number 1 ranked team in football, the best offense line in football. And all he did was this, like just crushed the pocket right here and take down Dylan Gabriel. Left-handed quarterback, backside of it right here. Like feet and hands just don't stop. Feet and hands. Keep moving, keep chasing until he gets to Gabriel for another sack. And then you get to the semifinals against the Longhorns. Like he's constantly in the passing lane. Like you watch him right here. I mean, one batted ball after another. And then at the end of the game right here, like he can rush from the inside. And here he splits the center and the guard. And he gets to yours and he gets that ball batted down. And then on the final play, he does this. 4th down and 8. All right? Semifinal game on the line. His buddy Quinn Ewers right here. He gets to him. Not only does he get to him, he gets the sack. He gets the fumble. He gets the fumble recovery. And the play of the postseason, the play of the playoffs was by Jack Sawyer right there. And on to the championship game against Notre Dame. Favorite players in this whole draft is Jalen Rivers, number 64, left tackle for the University of Miami. Like, I mean, here he is at tackle. But the unique thing about Jalen is during the same series, he could go just right inside to guard and play left guard. They were trying to get more reps for guys at tackle. There he is against Joshua Farmer right there, just running him in, wadding him up right there. Good player, Joshua Farmer. Came inside, wadded him up. All right, now he goes back outside to tackle. All right. He's 6'5". He's 319 pounds, right? He's got a wingspan of 7 feet. Like you watch him get his hands on guys right here, and it's beautiful. Like sitting in the chair, locking guys out, Cam throwing the ball down the field. All right? Like he battles out there at left tackle. Like he's a good left tackle. I talked to Cam Ward about him. He loves him. Like he protected his backside all year. Sometimes, Cam would hold this ball a long time. You got to take the clock out of your head. You just got to keep, he's a wrestling background. So he mauls people, stays on his feet, got that skill. But then on that same drive, here he is inside a guard. Not many guys can do this. Learn two positions, playing equally well in the same drive. Jalen Rivers, Miami, there he's just stoning guys right there. All right, protecting Cam Ward. Got to really pay attention to Jalen Rivers from Miami. And good kid, smart, well coached.
Back at it again. All right, seeing the place to be. Rick Serritella, telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin since 2002. Bringing you the names you need to know. First, it's what we do. Go check us out over at allaccessfootball.com. The best, the biggest, the baddest, the best independent football platform on the planet. I'm a little biased, but hey, go check us out. We got the 2026 NFL draft rankings, the 2025 NFL draft Bible. We got our pick-by-pick draft analysis. We got intel for days, medical reports, background, character, data, measurement. It just don't stop. It's a draft party. In fact, it's always an extravaganza bonanza when we talk to my fellow draftnik brethren, Dave Del Cole of Scouts Honor Podcast, joining us here to bring us down the stretch. Get that rocket fuel in. I've been pounding the coffee all weekend, Dave, and I do like day three for the early start, not just because of the fun. You got more rounds. I think we got 102 in the book, so we got 155 picks on the day three docket. Let's dive into some of the best players available, there during the promo break. By the way, when you go to allaccessfootball.com, we got all the Baldy Breakdown film sessions, scouting seminars, so check it out if you want to be in the know. So, best players available here on day three. We just saw the Jack Sawyer highlight reel from Baldy. You were a big JT Tuimalu fan. I liked both of them. I had them very evenly rated. I preferred Jack Sawyer slightly for the intangibles, the demeanor, the tenacity, the leadership. Not only that, this guy just makes big plays and big moments, propensity in the clutch. I like those intangibles. So and he just seems to me, he screams like Detroit Lions. I don't know. I think he'd be a great fit in Motown. Who are some of your best players available here on day two, Dave?
Yeah, Jack Sawyer is definitely top of the list. I think it's a crime he's still available, and expect him to go
number 47 overall, by the way, on the big board.
Yeah, I think most people had him as a day two guy. Some people had him as a round one guy, and he was pretty close to Tuimalu on my list. So to see him available, I wouldn't mind. Giants are coming right back up. And I know that we've addressed the defensive line quite a bit already, but why not throw another behemoth in there in Jack Sawyer? Never have enough.
Why not?
But outside of him, another defensive lineman I really like, Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. Another guy, high character, high performance, productive. Did a lot to boost his stock throughout the pre-draft process.
It's shocking he's still hanging out, man. That kind of size and athleticism and production is rare.
Exactly what teams are looking for. Cam Scadaboo, everybody's favorite right now. Expect him to go fairly early unless teams have some sort of concerns around him that I don't know about. Damian Martinez, another running back coming out of Miami, who I think is incredibly versatile, can do a little bit of everything. Expect him to go fairly quickly.
I thought he was the best running back in Mobile, by the way, during the week of Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he was definitely up there for sure. Ollie Gordon had a nice week. Marcus Yarns had a nice week, but Damian Martinez is the prototype of what you want in a running back these days, whether you want him as a bell cow or somebody that could spell somebody in more of a rotation. So I think both those running backs are going to be hot commodities and options for the Giants early on here in the fourth round. Miles Frazier and Garrett Dellinger,
Yeah.
the offensive guard. There's a run on
And
offensive linemen from.
their teammate Emory Jones too, LSU.
Did he get drafted last night?
I don't think he did. Cole,
No?
can you check on that? Emory Jones out of LSU. I don't recall hearing his name called.
Emory Jones went to the Ravens at 91.
He did. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I must have had one eye open.
It's a lot of names to keep track of, but yeah, there was a huge run on Georgia offensive linemen last night. You saw Dylan Fairchild go earlier than I think most people anticipated. Jared Wilson, that you talked about, going to the Pats. Tate Ratledge going to the Lions. I expect there to be a run on the LSU offensive lineman today. And the Ole Miss defensive line still. Jared Ivey, JJ Pegues. We saw Ume Malian go last night out of that group, but expect those guys to go. Danny Stutzman. I was shocked by the run on the linebackers. It was one that we talked about yesterday. I expected them to kind of fall a little bit.
Yeah.
We start off hot with Carson Schlesinger right
Yeah,
out of the gate.
Demetrius Knight.
Yeah. No, there was a bunch that went. A lot of quality talent at that position. I think Danny Stutzman is a mauler, a banger, somebody that I think can go fairly quickly. But those are sort of like my top available heading into the fourth round here.
Well, I'll tell you, man, if you like to build in the trenches, we talked about the depth at defensive tackle. Unbelievable. I mean, when you think about a guy like Joshua Farmer, number 52 overall on the board, still hanging out. I know he had some weight issues during his time at Florida State, but man, he looked like the conditioning was not an issue down at the Senior Bowl. But those are the things you got to try to figure out. Like, which Joshua Farmer am I getting? The one that was borderline lazy throughout his college career, or the guy who was motivated the last 4 months? You got to kind of decipher that. But I mean, even a Cam Jackson from Florida, like you talk about a people mover, never mind a double team. This guy requires a triple team. And they had him and the Desmond Watson.
Desmond Watson.
I mean, you had about 1,000 pounds of pure beef in the middle of that Florida line. Even I think Deone Walker, I believe, is still on the board as well.
From Kentucky. Yep, he's still hanging around.
And listen, there's going to be a need for a guy like that, a 2-down space eater who allows others to make plays. I mean, that's a 6'7", 360-pound athlete.
If he can get his center of gravity and leverage together, he could actually do something in the league. But I think a lot of teams are. You see Willie Lampkin owning him down in Mobile, and that's cause for concern for anybody.
Yeah, but he's still going to serve a role, and
absolutely,
he'll go somewhere here on day 3, and then again, like on these guards just get devalued. Like, I'm sorry if Joshua Gray out of Oregon State isn't a starter in the NFL, then my name's not Rick Serritella. I've seen so many prospects come through this league, man. Joshua Gray, good-looking kid out of Oregon State, can play all 5 positions.
Yep.
I don't know. He's the best looking player I saw at the East-West Shrine Bowl, number 57 overall on the board. And then Marcus Mabeau out of Purdue. I mean, he's this guy. Again, I view him as a starting caliber NFL guard, just there for the taking.
Thought he would be a Packers pick there. They end up going Anthony Belton instead, which I like that pick quite a bit. Yeah, no, classic Packers there. But Yeah, Mimbo was one that people pretty much had slated on day 2, and here he is still sitting there.
And so a lot of the guys that are still available on the Draft Bible big board is, against the grain, I guess.
Yep.
What I tried to do this year is have blinders on more than any other year doing this. In my 23 years, I tried not to watch anything on TV. I didn't want any outside poison in between my ears. I wanted it to be authentic as possible. And so what did it get me, Dave? It got me last place in the huddle report that we do every year. I went and looked who's at the bottom of the barrel, this guy. But you know what, man? I just see things differently. And so like a guy like Billy Bowman, who to me is Eddie Jackson, somewhat Bob Sanders-esque, playmaking, safety who could freelance, jump the route, come up in the box, stuff the run. Billy Bowman, outstanding talent. Drew Kendall is my number 1 center out of Boston College. I mean, what's wrong with taking a starting center on day 3? Just
Nothing. There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, I mean the kid from USC, Monheim.
Yep. You got Monheim, you got McLaughlin, you got Majors, Eli Cox. Love Eli Cox.
Yeah, I like
out of
Eli Cox.
Kentucky.
Now, Jake Majors is a lefty center. Does that bother you at all?
Not ideal, but I'd rather a lefty center than a lefty quarterback.
Yeah. Now, if you can score a lefty punter, the rule with lefty punters.
Yep.
Yeah. Lefty punters they account for 1 W in the left-hand column per year. A lefty punter will earn you 1 additional win per year because of the backspin.
The spin. Yeah.
And it'll create a fumble, a turnover, costly mistake. So if you can find yourself a lefty punter now, then you're cooking with the grease. Let's see who else is hanging out. All right. Well, Dorian Strong, like to me, only played one side of the field, but he did it very effectively out of Virginia Tech. Physical, aggressive, can play man or zone. I like this Dorian Strong. I think he's going to be a great value play. And we talked about the linebackers like Tedye Buchanan. Yep. I don't get it. Like that guy is explosive. You talk about Jihad Campbell. He's the poor man's version, man. Can get after the quarterback, sideline to sideline, hair on fire. Eugene Asante, another good-looking linebacker, younger brother of Larry Asante. And Bishal Tootin, didn't he get? I thought he got drafted yesterday. Did he not?
No, not yet. Not that I remember at least.
So,
yep, Tootin's still in. Gunnar Helms, one that's hanging around. There was a nice run on tight ends last night, but
Mitchell Evans. I like me some Mitchell Evans.
Notre Dame, right?
Dante Thornton out of Tennessee. That's going to be an interesting guy to see where he lands.
Big body wide receiver. A lot of big body wide receivers about to get hammered on day 3.
All right, so let's talk about some round 2 or day 3 mock draft scenarios here at the top. Titans are now back on the clock at 103. Then you've got Jacksonville at 104 and 107. So Jacksonville will be picking 2 selections in the top 5 here on day 3. You got your G-men sitting there at 3. The Patriots at 4. We mentioned Cam Scattaboo, Dave. Dare I say Jacksonville will pull the trigger. I mean, you want to create excitement and inject talent like Travis Hunter, Cam Scattaboo, Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's roll.
Yeah, I could certainly see it. I expect running backs to go early and often here to start the 4th round. Some of the best talent available, like we've kind of covered, Scattaboo, Martinez, Tootin. A lot of people are huge on Tootin. So there's definitely some quality there after a run at that position on day 2. Wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm really interested to see how these quarterbacks shape out, because there's still a lot of quality outside of the Shedeur Sanders anomaly.
All right, there it is. We went 45 minutes in the show.
I didn't want to even get into it,
but see, it wasn't going to be me.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to be me.
I know.
All right. So there you go. 45 minutes. We got our first Shador reference. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I care less about Shador and more about McCord, Howard, Ewers, Riley Leonard, your boy El Gersma. Is he going to get drafted or does he become a priority free agent? Curtis Rourke at Indiana, a nice value super late on day 3. There's some quality quarterback talent heading into today, but teams have not been prioritizing the position too much so far in this year's class. And there are some teams like the Steelers that are still hanging around. We're waiting to see what they're going to do. Are we really rolling with Mason Rudolph and praying that Aaron Rodgers comes out of the darkness, doesn't retire, and somehow lines up as their week 1 starter? I don't want to put all my Easter eggs in that basket. So, it's going to be interesting to see where some of these names fall. Obviously, they're getting picked as backups today, not starters, but a lot of depth at that position wouldn't be surprised if there was a run on them in the 4th round.
Should be interesting. There's a lot of quarterback needy teams. It's been a very fascinating draft in that perspective. But let's go back to the top of the draft here with Tennessee. Obviously, they took Cam Ward. They came back with one of my favorite players in the draft with Femi Oladeju. And then I thought they got a nice value pick at 82 with Kevin Winston Jr. I fully expect, again, all 3 of these players to come in, compete for starting roles. I know they signed Tyler Lockett, which was a nice little sneaky pick there before the draft started. I'd love for them to still add some ammunition or get Cam Ward some additional weapons. Jalen Royals out of Utah State comes to mind. But what do you make of the Titans draft so far? Have they done enough to put themselves into contention? We saw the Commanders turn it around last year. Are you viewing this draft as a similar type of turnaround?
Well, they got a lot of picks on day 3. They got 2 4th rounders, they got 2 5th rounders, and 2 6th rounders. So that's a lot of ammo to be able to do some damage. They definitely need some more firepower on the offense. There's a lot of wide receivers to be able to choose from with all those picks that they got on day 3. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them double dip at that position. They also need to get some help on that offensive line to be able to protect Cam Ward because we all know that you can take a quarterback, but if he's getting killed and pressured and doesn't have time to make his reads and feel confident in the pocket, start seeing Sam Darnold level ghosts back there, not a good situation for anybody. So I think they've started off decent, but they really need to finish strong in order to nail this draft and catapult themselves into legitimate contention.
All right, well, let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars then, because they made the big splash early on. They took Travis Hunter. They then had to wait until the 88th pick because of the draft equity that they gave up. They came back with Caleb Ransaw out of Tulane, who I view as a middling cornerback, maybe your slot, maybe your cornerback 4, cornerback 5, but he is going to be a dynamic special teamer on all special team units, that Caleb Ransaw. And then they came back back-to-back picks, 88 and 89, with your guy Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia. Did I see he was 22-0 as a wrestler? Was that Wyatt Milam?
Wyatt is an incredible talent, and it was a way too bold. I made some way too bold predictions on the show yesterday. I'll grant you that, but I wanted to get crazy with him because, I mean, if we're going to talk bold, let's talk bold. And I thought that he had a legitimate chance to get drafted earlier. I was starting to panic there towards the tail end of the 3rd round. I'm like, man, if this guy doesn't even go today, I'm going to look like shit on the show. But glad to see he ended up going there late on day 2. I think he's a solid player who can provide some position versatility on the offensive line to help protect Trevor Lawrence and establish the run game that we assume they're going to try to develop here with a running back selection heading into day 3. Another team with 6 picks, 2 4ths, 2 6, 2 7. So plenty of ammo. There's plenty of depth today. So expect them to go hot and heavy.
Your G men only have 4 picks on day 3 of the draft, but they're going to
Yep.
come up very early with the 3rd pick in round 4, number 105 overall. We talked about it. Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, Darius Alexander, 105, and then 154. Who do you have here on your Giants wish list?
So the top 4 for me going into this first pick in the 4th round is some combination of um, Cam Scadaboo or Damian Martinez, and then Jack Sawyer, Ty Robinson, Miles Frazier. I think Miles Frazier would kind of be a sweet selection here. The offensive line talent is going to start to fall off a bit. They could certainly use a starting guard um, on the team. Do they want to get a flashy back to pair with Tracy? It's a deep draft for running backs. We definitely need help on the offensive line. Wouldn't be upset with a double dip at the defensive tackle position, another area of the team. We got all these edge rushers now, which is great, but if you can't stop the run and clog the middle, then
Yeah.
what are we doing? So
Let me
those are
ask you
some of the
this.
names.
Are you content with the center, John Michael Schmitzer?
I am. I'm a big JMS guy. There's so much hate for JMS. I loved him when he came out. I get he was older. He had the weird grip on the ball. But I had Jim Nagy on my show that year, and one of the questions that I would ask him every year is, who are the best leaders coming out of Mobile? And he highlighted JMS. And I think for the locker room, for the continuity on the offensive line, particularly when that is a revolving door. If he can stay healthy, I love him. I think that his play, first off, you got to realize that he's had a revolving door for his coach. Offensive line coach has not been consistent for the Giants over his tenure with the team. So now we got Brasillo, some continuity there. Hopefully he stays healthy. He's able to continue to develop. But when our offensive line is falling like dominoes every year, and there's no consistency with who's around him. And the guard position has been plaguing us. We signed John Runyon last year. Greg Van Roten was in there, which whatever on Greg Van Roten, but then Andrew Thomas goes down. Jermaine Illuminor is kicking all over the line. There's just JMS has not been put in a position where he's been given a fair shake to show what he can do. If he can stay healthy and they can stay healthy, I expect big things out of JMS going into this year.
Okay, fair enough. There's the Giants get down, throw down, low down from David Del Cole. We mentioned New England earlier in the show. They went all defense in free agency, all offense on the draft through the first 2 days. Another one of these teams with 6 selections here on day 3. Will they take a defensive player finally, or will they stay on the offensive side?
They've got to be praying that Jack Sawyer falls in their lap. I mean, I couldn't line up a better scenario for Mike Vrabel than for that kid to just magically drop to them. They need position and need for them.
Opposite of Harold Landry too, so he'll kind of be that second guy, little one-on-one. Yep.
I think that makes a ton of sense. Defensive line still a potent position. They got 3 5th rounders. They got 2 7th rounders. There's going to be a ton of quality defensive line depth in that 5th round. Guys that can get after it, like a Tyler Barron out of Miami, the Ole Miss guys that we've talked about already. If you want a big beefy boy, you want a slick edge defender, you want a 3 tech, whatever your flavor is, you can get it early and often on day 3. So I certainly think that they're going to address the defensive trenches quite a bit.
No doubt. All right, we'll do one more because the Las Vegas Raiders have the 6th selection here, number 108 overall. Reports are Tom Brady personally told the Raiders not to select Shador Sanders. Instead, they went with Ashton Genty, Jack Besh, Darian Porter, Caleb Rogers, who I liked late in the process, and Charles Grant. So a pair of offensive linemen, a wide receiver, a running back, some skill positions, one defensive player, What do you make of the Raiders draft? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 selections on day 3.
Yep, another heavy ammo scenario for the Raiders. 2 picks in the fourth, one at the top and one at the bottom. I really liked their first 3 picks. Then the offensive linemen, Rogers and Grant. Okay, fine, I kind of get it, but wouldn't have been my guys there. Obviously, you need to create some sort of continuity on that unit, but I expect more skill positions. I know they took Jack Betch early on day 2, but a lot of wide receivers that they could go after here. I wouldn't be surprised if they went for an interior offensive lineman. Are Rogers and Grant really tackles? Who knows? Depends how they want to play that. But Vegas has a lot of holes that they could fill for sure. So they got a lot of ammo to work with, and I expect to see them address quite a few of those needs on day 3.
Yeah, we shall see if they ultimately take a
A
quarterback or not.
quarterback. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, do they go Sanders? I mean, he was visiting them and was in Vegas for a bit.
well, that's
Pretty
why I found
solid.
the report yesterday kind of curious because even Shador Sanders during the pre-draft coverage at one point had said, Tom Brady was someone who he had been in communication with and knew
Yep.
of. And I
Yep.
guess even Brady is not even endorsing him at that point. So,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
I don't know if I buy that. I don't think Tom Brady is like coming out talking shit about prospects. That just doesn't
you
really.
don't think Brady has a hand in the decision making in that front
I
office?
absolutely do, but I'm not buying rumors on Brady said this hearsay. That just doesn't like. There's no way that Tom Brady is letting the world know that he hates a quarterback when he's a part of
Well, I didn't say he
ownership
said
of
he
a
hated
team.
Shador, but he just
No,
advised
but
the front office not to pick him.
yeah, I don't know if I buy it. But I could certainly see them going again, more of the likes of Howard, McCord, Ewers. I think that those are more the style that if I had to guess what Brady would want to be going after, would be more the flavor that he'd like. Wouldn't surprise me in the least bit if you saw one of those guys come off the board to Vegas in round 4.
All right, we're gonna get into our bold predictions here with Dave Delcole, Rick Serritella, All Access Football NFL Draft Day 3 pregame show presented by Royal Retros. If you didn't check out the affiliate link in the chat room, please do so. Use our promo code RIC10. You get 10% off the entire website, the king of the throwbacks. They got throwbacks for days over there. Before we get into bold predictions, Dave, did you have any other day 2 prospects that you would like to discuss that we haven't mentioned? Or day
Day
3?
3, yeah, yep. So the Wisconsin offensive linemen, Jack Nelson and Joe Huber,
Yeah, I like those
like
guys.
them quite a bit. That's a powerhouse when it comes to offensive line talent. So think that there are going to be some quality selections. Um, Xavier Restrepo is a name that nobody's really talking about. And you look at his production, I get his 40 time was egregiously slow. Outside of that, though, I'm not sure what you don't like about this kid. Bailing Cam Ward out of a lot of throws. I really like Xavier Restrepo, so we'll
You
be
like him
interested to
more than
see.
Tez Johnson?
Yes, Tez Johnson's not even on my list. He's way too small. Way too small. Tank Dell, how's that going? Like
Yeah.
I can't get behind 160 pounds in the NFL. That's
Oh,
crazy to me.
I've said it from when I saw eyes on him. Like this guy is going to be an amazing wide receiver in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah. He might be good for year 1, and then he's gonna get hurt, and then on and on they go. Sean Martin is a name talking West Virginia prospects still
Sturdy.
that I really like. Yep, Riley Mills, another defensive lineman. All the Georgia guys, Brinson and Stackhouse and Ingram Dawkins, all those guys. I think they're an incredible value this late. Tyler Beatty at a BYU.
Yeah,
Love me some Tyler Beatty. Very excited to see where that kid
he's the try
lands.
hard.
Thomas the Tank Perry. Can't go without mentioning my boy out of
Middlebury.
Middlebury, Vermont.
Yes.
Dan Jackson.
Where? By the way, where do you like the Middlebury kid? I like him at center personally.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest spot for him, particularly with his size. It makes the most sense to play him at center, and kind of gives me Jake Andrews vibes. If you remember, Jake Andrews came out of Troy, went to New England, had a pretty good Senior Bowl week. Granted, Thomas Perry was at the East-West Shrine, not the Senior Bowl, and Jake Andrews has been dealing with some injuries in New England, hasn't really been able to get going, but slightly undersized. The kid, though, in the weight room is a monster, and I love to see it. Excited for Thomas the Tank to get his name called. I think he will get drafted here on day 3. Dan Jackson, safety out of Georgia. I know that we've talked about him previously. Excited to see where he goes. I mean, there's so many players that we could talk about that I'm super into.
Well, that's why they got to go and download the Scouts Honor podcast.
Yeah, right. We had a lot more time. Yeah.
We did it for almost like an hour and a half, just talking day 3 prospects and players that we like and digging in the crates. And so, Cole,
Jack Kaiser, got to throw that one out.
Oh yeah, good one. One of my favorite players. 962 special team snaps, the most in this year's draft. Unbelievable. And we've got unbelievable bold predictions coming up for you right after this commercial break. Take it away, Cole.
Looking for a starting center or a center to compete to be the starter. Maybe you should just look at Boston College Drew Kendall right here. Because he understands, like right here, his most important job is protect the quarterback. Like everything possible. You got to pass stunts. You got to keep it clean. All right. Now, he started 37 games at Boston College. He knows how to play. Rarely do these games ever look like they do on a walkthrough or a Friday practice. It's just ping pong, bam, bang, bang, bang. Like you take as many guys that cross your face, and you don't let anybody cross your face without hitting them or giving them a wing. All right. You got to you have to see it. You have to, and it comes fast. All right. So you watch it right here. Like Joshua Farmer is a big time player. You put him on his nose, and what does he do? He turns him, all right, and he moves him, and there goes the back, all right. So you want to see him against good players? Watch him against Florida State's Farmer. Like it's not about individual blocks; it's about how you do it as a group. So it starts with your center, all right, getting you all lined up, all right. So you watch this right here, and look at the wall that they form, all right. Conley, Trapillo, the whole group. That's the wall. Now the back can get to the secondary. And then all the guys come, the reinforcements come to help them out, getting them off the ground. Well done. All right, it's about working together. The center has to start the calls. But you watch this here, and you got to score. You're down the 2-yard line. It's the opening game of the season. Where are you running the ball? Right behind Kendall. Turn the guy, create the crease, let the back finish the play. You want a starting center. Dad played 13 years in this league. He knows how to play. It shows up on film.
All right, back at it again. All right, seeing a place to be. Rick Serritella telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. We are 56 Lawrence Taylor minutes away from day 3 of the start of the 2025 NFL draft. Hey, it's all brought to you by Royal Retros. Shout out to the Royal Retros, King of Throwback. Check out the affiliate link in the website. Use our promo code RIC10. Save 10% off the entire website. Go over to allaccessfootball.com. We got 2026 rankings, pick by pick analysis, the NFL Draft Bible. Shout out to Sports Management Worldwide for sponsoring the newsletter, the largest independent platform around. Go check us out. We appreciate all the love and support. And it is now time for the bold prediction portion of the show. And by the way, we will be back tomorrow with one more edition. We'll have the NFL Draft recap show presented by Royal Retros tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. We're going to break it down with Dave Del Cole and myself one more time before we officially turn the page over to the 2026 NFL draft cycle. So, Dave, what is your bold prediction here for day 3 of the 2025 NFL draft in Green Bay?
Centers around your boy Shador Sanders. And there he is right on the graphic, right on time, Cole. I think Shador lands with the New York Jets.
Bold.
They got Justin Fields on a not so long deal.
Yeah.
Behind him, they got Tyrod Taylor. They got Jordan Travis. A couple of guys that can use their legs in that room. And Shador kind of fits that flavor. They're not afraid of the braggadocious, egotistical personalities like a Joe Namath who's graced those halls previously. So I would not be surprised to see somebody's got to take a flyer on him at this point. I think the Jets are crazy enough to do it.
Well, from one egotistical quarterback in Aaron Rodgers on to another, Dave Del Cole's bold prediction. Well, my bold prediction when we sat here yesterday, Dave, I said it and half-heartedly believed it, and I said Shador Sanders would not get drafted at all on day 2.
Yep.
And here we are on the eve of day 3. And I actually wholeheartedly now do believe that Shador Sanders is not even going to get drafted.
Wow. That would be insane, Rick. I mean, holy shit, man. I could see it happening because at this point, there's something behind the curtain that nobody, and there's
I
a
think
lot
there's
of
something we
baggage
don't know. I do think there's something we don't know.
Yep.
Or maybe it's out there in front of our faces and we just haven't figured it out. But I do ask and ponder, like, if he does go undrafted, are we now talking about collusion? Like, it's gotten to the point of absurdity.
It is. My phone blows up, as I'm sure yours does, throughout the entire draft. I mean, I am nonstop in a dozen text threads with groups and people and everybody in between. And the most common one I've been getting is, what the hell is going on with Shador? And my response is essentially that I don't think that he was that good coming out in the first place. And then the PR nightmare that you are going to deal with as this story continues to escalate. If you're any front office and you bring him in to your organization, all you are going to be dealing with in your press conferences until he actually sees the field is, why'd you take Shador? Why did he slide? There's going to be a bazillion questions, and it's going to be a massive distraction for your organization, for your locker room. And I think that coupled with the additional baggage he's already coming with is a lot that teams just don't necessarily want to take on. Why would you, when you could go get, if you want a quarterback now, the names that we keep talking about that are coming out? It's not like these guys are Joe Blows out of no programs, I mean, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, like, these are guys that are in the college football playoffs, I mean, it's not to say that, one is better than the other necessarily, but there's certainly a lot less baggage that comes with those guys by comparison to Shador.
It's going to be another fascinating day 3. I look forward to where the crumbles fall, and we'll be back to put those breadcrumbs together and make a big, nice loaf of bread out of it here on a Sunday morning, 10 a.m. tomorrow. The All Access Football pregame show concludes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in over our past 3 days of coverage. Shout out to Royal Retro, Sports Management Worldwide, Cole Glotzer behind the scenes, my co-host Dave Del Cole. You still have time to go listen to that Scouts Honor podcast right now with our favorite day 3 prospects. We got 50 minutes until the start of the draft, and we'll be back at it again tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, for the All Access Football NFL Draft Recap Show presented by Royal Retros.